When you hear the sound of the bell, you know you are in the championship rounds with the one and only King Amin of Essex, and I'm back across the pond with it. My guy Scotty Goodard is here to talk boxing. Of course, we got a big week coming up, but
Definitely.
we had a big week a few weeks ago. We're gonna keep this show very UK centric. I wanted to get your thoughts because we talked about it a couple weeks ago, the Joe Joyce and Joe Parker fight.
Parker.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That was a great fight. And we were both right. We said Joe Joyce is he's stiff but so powerful, and that jab was really getting in the way of Parker and affecting him. And Parker's a great boxer, but he just got broken down in that fight completely, I thought.
Yeah, I was really surprised with the way that Parker, his approach to the fight, excuse me, he thought he was going to get off quick, punch and go to Joyce's body. Joyce was too slow, but that plodding, methodical, come forward style that Joyce has just proved to be too much. And the fact that Parker's never been stopped and Joe Joyce is the guy that stops him, that does say a lot, for Joyce with this kind of win. Remember, so he's got the win over Dubois, okay, got the win over Parker. It's got a pretty good resume
really
at heavyweight.
Yeah, and I forgot. He also stopped Carlos Takam, didn't he, as well? And he's like a common opponent for the top level heavyweight
for everybody, absolutely.
Out there. Yeah.
So let's dive into some more current events. Throwing this again, keeping it very UK centric. Joe Cordina, he lost his belt because of some technicalities. Now we know this was because I guess the mandatory bout that he was given was on a condition that the winner fight. Excuse me. I need a bit of what you're drinking over there.
Yeah.
The bout that he won the title and it was contingent on he faced this opponent, but he's out with the injury, so he gets stripped, goes to a mandatory. I don't know if we talked about Cordina, but tell me what you think about Cordina and what exactly happened in this particular incident.
Oh, I feel so sorry for Cordina. I don't know if you saw his Instagram post as well. He was saying that he felt like obviously he'd been robbed. Obviously, he hadn't been robbed, but he felt like he'd been robbed in life almost, and that he was proper gutted. And do you know what? Like I always when fighters with Cordina and stuff, I always fancy them in other fights as well and picture them what's next for them and stuff. And Stevenson, I said ages ago I'd like him and Stevenson and stuff, but at the minute it's a real step back for him, and he must feel like he's just stepping away from these big opportunities at the minute now with this hand injury and stuff.
And I see a bit of irony here because I find it interesting that both these guys, again, spoken about potentially as opponents in the future, they both end up losing the belts in that same division. So, it's kind of irony to it, right? So
definitely.
But yeah, let's go ahead. Did you have something or?
Sorry?
No, I thought you said something. All right.
Oh, no,
so let's move on to Janibek. All right. I'm not even going to ruin his name. Okay. He calls himself Qazaq Style, goes by the name of Qazaq Style. Janibek versus a guy that I know a little bit more, Denzel Bentley. More heard of his name. I'm sure, UK guys, he's domestic, definitely a common known domestic fighter. But go ahead. I see you with some hesitancy.
Yeah, already, yeah. I think Denzel Bentley is a new man since the Felix Cash incident and stuff like that. I think he's a new man, and he's just been, been doing so well, and I think it's really paying off for him. And I've got him in this fight. I really have.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think I truly see he puts good hard work. I don't know if you keep update with him, but he puts a lot of hard work into himself. And he's just really proved himself.
I remember him from the Mark Morrison fight. Right?
Didn't you say Morrison?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that's the, I think again, when I name these guys, I watch them because the UK, again, they give respect to the depth of the divisions. Then you have the Commonwealth title situation. So a lot of these fighters, you hear the names and you see the names. And a lot of people, I was talking about it on the Boxing Voice this morning. People are saying, the UK people are saying Denzel Bentley is just not enough of a name. He's not known enough. And this should just be, if this guy, Qazaq Style, is the goods, he should just blow through Bentley. What do you think about that sort of opinion?
Well, I don't know. I think I struggle to understand people when they have opinions like that sometimes. Some people like Bentley, because obviously all he's doing is what he can at the minute. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just doing what he can. And fair enough, his name's not big at the minute, but I'm sure give him a few more years. I'm sure people will remember the name.
Well, and I think it's fair to say, maybe this is one of those opportunities. And the flip side
Yeah,
is Qazaq Style. Is he the real deal? Because my contention is we give these guys, the honorable mention as a boogeyman, and it doesn't always pan out. Hergovic was once
no,
called the boogeyman. Andre was once called the boogeyman. Boogeyman, boogie. So it isn't always this, this honorable reputation. So I feel as though, again, I know some people have said Bentley's not on the world stage level, but I mean, we'd have to see his Qazaq Style on this level as well. And if he is, this is the fight to separate himself, at least in my opinion. So I don't know if it's speaking highly enough of Bentley for people to understand, if Qazaq Style gets rid of him or beats him impressively, this is not, would you say, oh, he just beat some guy from the UK? For me, it wouldn't be that
yeah,
kind of, it would be like, okay, he beat a competitor, a good fighter, especially if,
good resume.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Definitely good, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
like that.
And you're right. You're right. It's like the same incident with the whole. I remember when we were talking about the Ortiz versus McKingston fight. Even then you were like respecting that McKingston is a fighter, and he's there. Do you know what I mean? And he's there for war, and he's obviously trained hard. And by now in the boxing game, a name don't always mean everything. Do you know what I mean? And it can be taken away from you straight away by nobody.
Sure. It's funny because it means everything and nothing at the same time. So we talking
Yeah.
about a name. We talk about names. It's names fighting this weekend. Names that were names even before they were born. We're talking Eubank Jr. and Connor Benn. We're leading up to it.
Yeah.
Tell me.
I had a long think about it. I kept thinking, and I've been studying this fight for so long now. I had such a long think about it, and I have to say, I fancy Eubank. I fancy Eubank stopping him in 6 or 8. I have to say,
stopping him in 6 to 8.
The reason why I say this is number one, the mind games as well. He's done, and he has gotten to Conor Benn's head as well for a start.
Say that again.
I said he's definitely gotten to Conor Benn's head for a start. You can see he's proper winding Conor Benn up with this whole 60% scenario. I do think he's saying that maybe for an excuse if he does lose. But I just think he's got these too many steps ahead of Conor Benn, I think.
What about this scenario? Right? Because you write about the head games, and I think both, Dad is playing his fair head games too, because he said he's calling for us, a sanctioning body to step in and wave the fight off. This is how head injuries are caused. And, we've heard he's come out in opposition early out in this fight. We don't know if that is gamesmanship or not. We don't know if that's real. Then he's kind of backing, Chris with the whole the t-shirt with the cheeseburger and the whole 60% thing. I'm thinking stoppage. I don't know, because I think that with all the play, there's a friendly nature to it. I really think that Eubank, I don't want to say will carry the fight. I think if anybody, gets, there's going to be a knockdown. Benn could face a knockdown, right? I see that happening.
Benn being knocked down, yeah.
Yeah, I could see Benn being knocked down. I don't see Eubank getting knocked down. I think Eubank naturally too big. He's gonna, and we forget because of the persona. I mean, Roy Jones has been holding his hand just as long as his dad's been holding his hand.
Yeah.
There's a technique and a level of experience, even if it's in the gym, that is just kind of levels above where Conor Benn can go. So there's going to be a recklessness that Benn is going to have to dig into. It's going to cause him to get knocked down at least once, but it's not going to put him out of the fight. And I'm not saying that I see Benn showing, Eubank showing mercy on Benn, but I don't see him trying to hurt Benn if he finds Benn in a precarious position.
Yeah. And it's like, the way I see it is the only way in my head Benn could win is if he stopped Eubank. Because I just can't, there's no way I could see Conor Benn outboxing Chris Eubank. Not in a million years. And so he has to stop him, I think. And that he will come in with that game plan. I'm so sure he will. He's going to come in so far, just like his dad was, so emotional and just wanting to hurt them. And it might work. Who's to say it won't? But I just can't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. And it's funny because the people that just don't care for Eubank and his character and his wit or his sense of humor, they're totally rooting against him. And I you know, I get that part, but that is what makes him, you know, in that regard, a prize fighter. When people will tune in and pay to watch you lose, even when you win, you're onto something, you know?
He's the bad guy. Eubank's always been the bad guy in all of his fights, but we all want him like to like lose. Like I remember he was the bad guy when he fought Liam Williams. Everyone wanted Liam Williams to smash his head in and stuff. And he boxed beautifully, Eubank did.
Yeah. So let me just keep it let me keep it in the UK real quick. I'm thinking this Dennis Hogan, well, it's the fight is in Australia, but it's with one of UK's favorite domestic just punchers, Sam Eggington. You know, this guy is always in a brawl. I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, at the disregard of his own health, this guy is always in for just a scrap. He's in there against Dennis Hogan. Now, Dennis Hogan, you know,
he's no joke.
Yeah, and some people think that this is easy for Dennis Hogan because Eggington, again, he's been in too many wars. Is there an upset with Eggington pulling this one off?
There could be, definitely. That is so possible. But I have got Dennis Hogan.
Okay. I thought you was gonna go the other way and give us no, I figured Hogan would pull this one out, but so I think some of the bettors were looking in to see what could or could not happen.
I might just bet on Eggington, just, you know.
Well, I'm going to stay, again, keep it UK, women's boxing, all right? Ellie Scotney versus Mary Romero. Now, I don't know much about Mary Romero, but I do know Ellie Scotney is a, you know, she's a budding women's fighter. I think this was her 8th or 9th professional fight. Could be more.
Yeah.
She's pretty deep into that territory. And we know one thing about women's boxing, it doesn't take a whole, you know, mess of fight. Sometimes, you know, you look at the Ebony Bridges of the world, you could be 6, 7, 8 fights in. Hell, you look at Alicia Bumgarner, 7, 8 fights in, you're in a world title. So Ellie Scotney, what do you think about her development and, you know, this upcoming bout?
Yeah, I may be biased, but I think she's got it in the bag. She when was her last fight? Because I can't remember the last time she fought. I have watched a few of her fights, but when she was on Sky Sports.
Yeah, she's been out of the ring, I would say, at least 4 months ago. She hasn't been in for a little while. She's usually like you said, she's usually on some matchroom card, but she hasn't really, you know.
Yeah.
She hasn't had the activity that we've seen her, you know, maybe twice a year. We used to see her 2-3 times a year.
Yeah.
She really came out, you know, during the COVID, you know, when they had the fight camps, you know, matchroom fight camps. She really
undercards as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy, you know, what you say though, like how this the women's boxing, this I don't want to say it's easier, but like it's I don't know how you put it in words, but it's you go straight to the big part, don't you, with women's boxing almost. And I've never looked at it that way until you just said it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they go straight for the hard stuff. There is no warm-up fight sometimes. few fights in, you're ready.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Now, speaking of warm-up fights, being a few fights in, how many fights away is Sebastian Fundora? He's also fighting this weekend against Carlos Ocampos. Ocampos once fought Earl Spence, I believe. So that's his kind of biggest fight, claim to fame, if you will. But Sebastian Fundora at 154. What do you think about him? What do you think what's next after this fight? Is this fight a challenge? What do you think?
Yeah, this fight is a challenge for him. This is more of a resume thing for him, I think. You know, like to say, I'm fighting top level guys now. This guy's fought Spence and stuff. So that is really building it up for him, isn't it? It's really he's doing a sort of Conor Benn thing. He's now fought, you know, the Algeria thing, and he builded it up, and he's now trying to get close to these other guys and making himself at high level. I think he's got this fight, by the way. Such a great fighter. I love his like slinkiness, you know what I mean? But it just, I don't know about him. It's really distinctive, and everyone loves a distinctive fighter.
Sure. And I've been talking about Sebastian Fundora for the last few weeks because I think for me, you know, he's right on time, but there still is like a little bit of, and it's not his fault. His timing is slightly off because I think right now with that win over Lubin, he deserves to be in contention right away. That's immediately. That's that kind of win, what that kind of win does for you. However, when I look at that division and I say to myself, but Jermell Charlo just became undisputed and he's got the fight with Tim Tszyu coming up. I'm like, allow him to go and make that money, make that title defense. He, you know, no one's ever been undisputed at 154. There's a certain kind of privilege, I think, that goes along with what he just did. So allow him the big money fight. And I hate to say it, but like I said, Fundora, maybe he gets, you know, he's probably going to get Castano, and that's probably terrible for him. If he's got to fight, and it's fair, but it's terrible, but it's fair. If he's got to fight Brian Castano, who Jermell Charlo had to fight twice to get to Jermell Charlo, it's like you're kind of putting him through a murderer's row.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and you want to feel sorry for him, but you can't. You've got to let him. You know,
it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, but I hope that, you know, something happens to where, you know, maybe he gets the Charlo fight, you know, sooner than later, and Charlo just says, look, before I get out of 154, or maybe, you know, I'm tired of people asking me about Sebastian Fundora. Let me go ahead and put some water on this towering inferno. Who knows, man?
Yeah.
So listen, give everybody information. Let them know where they can find you.
You can always find me on Instagram, Scotty.boxing. Always uploading fights. I've got an announcement coming soon. I'll be fighting again. I'll come back in the ring. So, you know, keep update with my next fight. And yeah, hopefully let's have another chat soon.
Oh, definitely, man. Listen, you got to let me know when that fight is happening, and we'll definitely stay tuned for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the championship rounds. Thank you for joining me. We out of here.